seconds?
It is.
Yeah, it is. It's a long time.
It is.
But he said give him 30 seconds, so he
Don't
should
sit
be
in the
good.
corner.
I know. Okay, we are going to get started. So I will call to order the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Wednesday, August 1st, 2018. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Bonnie.
Klaus?
Here.
Gorfulet?
Here.
Johnson?
Here.
Lathrop?
Yep.
Mayor?
Here.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Crawford?
Here. We have the approval of the minutes of July 18th, 2018, which was our last regular meeting.
Madam Chairman, I'd move to approve the July 18th minutes as mailed.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Now is our chance for first public comment. Bonnie, will you read the rules, please?
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4 Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson. Please be respectful and refrain from personal or political attacks.
Okay, so I have a couple extra things to say today because we have a large crowd. So if you could, please refrain from clapping. If somebody says something that you like, that's fine. Clapping is not appropriate. And also, please don't expect the commissioners to respond. It's not a conversation, it's public comment. It's your chance to tell us what you think. There will also be a separate public comment that I will open up when we talk about the drain commissioner. So if anybody's here to talk about that, it's your choice, but there will be public comment allowed at that time as well. Okay? So with that, you can step up and hand your card to the clerk. So you can form a line if you like. Okay. No, go ahead.
No, you're
You can
gonna
go ahead.
talk
You get.
in the order that you give it to.
Yep, in the order that you give it to her, you need to talk. So you can form a line. Yeah. Go ahead. Yes. And you can move the microphone, but talk right into it for us. Thank you.
Dan Bauer, 7034 Schickto Road, Kingsley. Retired, 20 years Mayfield Township Supervisor. Welcome aboard, Nate. Good choice. I'm here to talk about the Drain Commissioner. I ran for public office against a previous Drain Commissioner, and my previous boss was Larry Fleece, Lark Lawn and Garden, God bless his soul. The current issue that's going on with the Drain Commissioner, the Drain Commissioner knew when he took the job what the pay scale was, what the job was. I do not like what I read in the newspaper. I think, and I am sure, after much consideration, in a couple years, there will be more people who step up to the plate, and I think the current drain commissioner has to be accountable to someone, and if he's putting in a few more hours, he has to know that we have to know the reason why. I'm not sure. I think preventive maintenance, being in the military for 7 years, is huge. Old Mission and Silver Lake, if they're in trouble, they should be addressed first. It should be documented, and it should go to the administrator and what he does with it. But to ask for 10 times, 9 times more than what he's receiving, eventually he wants it. And people will step up to this position in a couple years, and if they want to perform the duty at $7,000, $8,000, it's an elected position. He knew well in advance what he was taking on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Mark Labadie, live at 10370
You talk
Summit
right into
City
the
Road.
microphone. Yep. Thank
Better?
you. Yes, thank you.
Mark Labadie, I live at 10370 Summit City Road, Kingsley, Michigan. I'm here today to address the subject of pay increase for the position of Drain Commissioner. In 2017, I do not recall seeing any news reports about the Silver Lake or Old Mission Peninsula drains. In 2018, it's a hot topic. With all of the sudden attention, it appears it is being made an issue. We are not talking about a cost of living increase or a job that may have been underestimated by even 100%, which would be difficult to believe. We are saying that the scope of work, responsibilities, and compensation were underestimated by anyone who would vote for this by 1,000% after you account for the benefits that would be included in this pay increase. If you cannot set a budget for one job without being off by 1,000%, then why should the taxpayers trust you to set the budget for the entire county? If you were going to offer a higher compensation rate, it should have been before the election, so the constituents of this county would have been informed and probably had a different group of people to choose from. I am not in favor of an elected official receiving a pay increase in the middle of their term if the commissioner is not able to fulfill the duties of his office under the terms that he has agreed to when he ran for office and accepted the position. He should resign, and you should appoint an interim commissioner until an election can be held. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Leslie Worth, 6302 Brackett Road in Williamsburg. I'm here to talk about Deb Zarafa, and I have known Deb personally for over 15 years as a neighbor and part of the horse community. I also know Jamie Kroll through the horse community. Deb has been a strong advocate for the well-being of animals, and she has had years of training and experience for protecting animals. I know Deb as a very professional and passionate for animal rights. Recently, I observed her professionalism firsthand. I had an issue with my neighbor's dog coming on my property, chasing and harassing my horses. I contacted animal control and spoke with Deb, and forwarded the video and the dog coming after me and my horses. Deb issued a ticket to my neighbor for a dog at large. Later, I received a call from Deb informing me my neighbor was going to fight this ticket. She asked me to come to the court to explain my side of the issue and the video. I won't go into detail with the hearing. However, during the process, I remember thinking to myself how lucky Grand Traverse County is to have someone familiar with not only animal care and welfare, but with strong legal background. She was very fair to all parties, both sides. She did not belittle my neighbor in any way, and she showed her compassion and was very professional. I'm here today because I seriously question the reasons behind the firing of Deb Zarafa and what appears to be a complete lack of due process for her rights as a government employee. I also question the hiring of Jamie Kroll, who is involved in a federal lawsuit for essentially the same issues Deb is being accused of. Deb Zarafa is a strong advocate for the rights of animals and the rights of individuals. She is not a liar, a cheat, or dishonest. Mr. Elger, I hope that you will take the time to investigate and determine the true facts of this mess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lily Holtz. I live at 3534 Voice Road in Kingsley. And I do not know a lot about the politics that's going on. I don't know Deb very well, but I do know that she is a light in this job, and she is an advocate for animals. I personally sat in a restaurant with her when another lady came up and said, you know, this person that I know has this dog that's in a lot of trouble. Deb said, I'll pay for it. Tell me where I can find her. I don't know anybody who could be that compassionate and have that kind of light shining out of her. It's just so hard to find people like that these days. And whatever the politics are, I hope you guys settle it. I really do. And I hope that you can settle it in Deb's favor, because, you know, everybody in your life, you have to find something bigger than yourself. My bigger than myself is the Jerry Land Humane Society. I volunteer there. I love those people. They are so good. And I love the animals. I also found my someone. Deb, she's bigger than myself. She knows what to do. She has a heart like this big. She's gonna do what's right. I don't know Jamie. I don't know this other lady who got, who was put in that job. But somewhere along the line, there's been a wrong. And I think it needs to be made right. And for whoever has that power to do it, please fix this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sheila Dinger, and my address is 10308 Homestead Road, Benzonia. I'd like to direct all my comments to our newly coined court administrator, Nate Alger. This is all regarding the firing of former animal control officer Deb Zarafa. I just don't understand. You have an animal control officer that is doing it all by herself. She's a supervisor, she's the officer, she's working 24/7, 7 days a week, which, by the way, none of us work that hard. During that time, she's had no formal complaints from her above director. In comes new hire, Supervisor Jamie Kroll over Deb. You hire her even knowing Jamie has been fired from Benzie County for many reasons, including being unsafe and not following policies, and has a current federal lawsuit regarding all this going against her and Benzie County Animal Control. You knew this, and yet you picked Jamie over Deb, who's been doing this whole job. Almost immediately, Deb files a hostile work environment complaint. Then, within days, she's put on administrative leave. This is a person that's been doing it all. And then ultimately she's given 10 pages of complaints against her or reasons why you're going to fire her. This is a person that's never had any pages put on her. And this is just wrong. Grand Traverse County has spent an enormous amount of money and time looking into Deb Zarafa's past in order to come up with many reasons to fire her, even though it looks like she hasn't been disciplined in the past about any of these allegations. The county appears to be interested in the Fourth Amendment unreasonable search and seizure against Deb. Really? That is one of the many complaints against Jamie in Benzie County. So you got Jamie in Grand Traverse County complaining of Deb regarding that, when that's the whole complaint on her federal lawsuit in Benzie County. Why, at the very least, hasn't she been on leave, Jamie, so that the county can investigate the Benzie County case and information having to do with her being fired by Benzie County? I think that not investigating Jamie Kroll shows serious bias by the health department and their county in the preference of who works for them. I'm sure you've lost a beloved pet that is part of your family, whether it be an accident, old age, or illness. You remember how devastated you felt for not just yourself, but all the members of your family. Remembering having to try to stay strong for your children while barely keeping it together yourself. how heartbroken, devastated, depressed, all of these feelings. You tell yourself, I'm never putting myself through this again. It hurts too much.
We do have to move on to the next person. Sorry, thank you.
I'm the federal lawsuit against Jamie. 9 animals taken.
Thank you.
9. And 1 killed.
Thank you very much.
My name is Richard Zarafa. Excuse my voice, I have a problem with my ears and voice. I'm here as a taxpayer of the county to complain about how you spend my tax dollars. First of all, the hiring process seems non-existent. I mean, you don't have, you had people in the hiring process for Jamie's job that didn't vet the applicants. There was nothing said about her being fired from Benzie County or the federal lawsuit for violating someone's civil rights. I think if they knew what they were doing, they perhaps would have taken a different tact. Not only was my tax dollars wasted in the investigation to come up with reasons to fire Deborah, but it's also wasted in the whole process that's going to kick off. I'm sure we're all going to hear the term age discrimination before too long through this process. I could see many attorney fees having already been spent on this issue and many more to come. So I hope that somebody will start doing things properly and using tried and tested rules for hiring and firing. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Vicki Dilly, and I'm reading this on behalf of Marcia Hayward from Kingsley. And it also expresses how I feel. It says, my statement is directed at Nate Elger. As an animal advocate and administrator of Lost and Found Traverse City and Kingsley area pets, I have been very supportive and actively helping to spread the animal control millage message and how important this issue is to maintain our animal control officers. With that said, I would like to express how disappointed I am at the firing of Deb Zarafa. I have communicated her on many occasions regarding lost dogs, and she gave up her weekends many times to assist us in active searches without pay. My group and I have spent almost 2 years building a rapport with her, and we deserve to know why she was fired because every answer has been so very vague. Furthermore, we all feel she was cheated out of the supervisory position that was ultimately given to Jamie Kroll, who was fired in Benzie County and under investigation and named in a lawsuit for removing animals from private property without authorization, which led to the death of a horse whose only crime was being blind. Deb Zarafa was totally wronged by this county.
Thank you.
My name is Tom Dilly, 123 Boyd Street in Fife Lake. First, I'm going to read a quick letter. It says, I was a dog law outlaw to the tune of 6 unlicensed and not vaccinated animals. That was until Miss Deb came calling. She busted me and got tax law biting. She made me want to pay the county. I'm not going to tell you folks how kind and professional and devoted she is. Everyone in this room already knows that. Miss Deb stepped on toes to get a minimal budget approved with the support and dedication. She embarrassed the council into that budget. That made people mad. Deb was denied promotion. That was the first kick. And then y'all set up a trap to finish her off. This is small town politics. at its worst or best from the vengeance you seek. Y'all probably did her a favor because she's too good to work for people like you. Deb is a perfect example of the real old cliche, no good deed goes unpunished. And I'd also like to address Mr. Alger on your hiring process is just despicable. No vetting, no research done on the person that basically took over her position. I don't have to name the name, everyone knows it. I just don't understand it. It's very, very uncountable, very unprofessional, and just beyond, well, no, it's not beyond reproach. It needs to be taken care of. And I've heard a lot of talk about how this surplus money wants to be spent by the council. Unfortunately, this really needs to be addressed too. And I've not heard a word about animal control. That's coming up. This election is important to everyone here. Boy, I'll tell you what, right now I'd like to see a lot of clean faces. Someone needs to step up. Someone really needs to step up their game. That's it.
Thank you.
Well, he just said it all. I'm Darcy Pickren. I live at 916 Pine Street, and I'm an advocate for, obviously, my sister. I'm here to support and demand justice for her firing. She's my twin, obviously, but I'm here to also stand up and ask people to vote no for animal control. This is an inappropriate use of the taxpayer money, and it's not, it's just unbelievable to me that we get the money, $150,000 Deb gets, and now it's being squandered in the animal control department. They got $100 new badges to look like police officers, which of course the police department doesn't want it under their jurisdiction or their department. They got new uniforms, new truck, which Deb researched and got a great deal on a truck, but it's there, and they're riding around together. The two animal control officers out smoking cigarettes half the time. I mean, let's look at the number of complaints that have been covered in Grand Traverse County since April 9th to today, and go back a year and look at how many Deb did on her own, and were successfully completed. And I mean, that's just a little bit of what I have to say. But I am appalled. I'm appalled to hear that she was terminated for alleged dishonest and deceitful conduct. That is a direct attack against my family, our family, and our upbringing. And the comments are deceitful and dishonest, and those comments demand a complete retraction. I stand in total favor of Deb and her lawsuit against the county and its various employees who have created this unfounded witch hunt. It smells like fish rotting on the beach in Grand Traverse Bay. I'm extremely interested Deb was extremely interesting that Deb resurrected the animal control department after the county fired 2 animal control officers in December 2015. Another firing? During her employ, she was overworked and underpaid. She was not given any records from the previous animal control department and had to start from scratch. The sheriff's department wouldn't agree to take animal control, so it had to be put on the backs of the health department. The Grand Traverse Health Department supervisors have questionable hiring and firing practice, and that's not new. I request a complete review of Wendy Hirschenberger, Dan Thorell, Jamie Kroll, and John Brown's mileage records, GPS records, conduct investigations with regards to their potential violations of the employee handbook and the county policies and conflicts of interest, along with the various improprieties in hiring and firing practices in this county. What's good for one should be good for all. And again, it's not, in this county, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And this is wrong. This is just dead wrong.
Thank you.
Darcy,
No, Tom, we're not going to comment.
I think
No.
I'm allowed to comment if I want to comment.
No, this is public comment. This is their time to comment.
Non-dialogue.
Thank you. Does anybody else have public comment at this time? Once? Twice? Yep. Well, no, we have to, if you want to make a comment, you have to come and identify yourself and your address and come to the microphone, please.
My name is Lisa Leatherman, and I live at 595 South Roosh Road in Traverse City. And this is my comment. I think this is ridiculous that you tried to fire her, or, looked at her mileage. How petty could you be? Something's wrong with this. Something's very wrong. This is why people don't like government. Something needs to be done about this. This is a very small group. In like 2 weeks, she had 500 supporters on the internet. And this is just beginning.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay, we will move on. We have approval of the agenda. I have one item that needs to be removed due to a scheduling conflict. The Commission on Aging 9B, the home care management system. We'll bring that back August 15th. Does anybody else have anything to add or anything that needs to be removed from the agenda? Do we have a
Madam
motion?
Chairman, I would move to approve the agenda with the exception of item 9B.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Klaus. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We have an agenda. Move on to the consent calendar. Bonnie, please.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission staff or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. Number 1, 2% funding recipients. B, approvals, none. End.
That was it? Oh, okay. All right, does anybody have, that one thing to remove? Sonny? Anything from you? No? You gonna let it go this time?
They've already made their decision. The checks have already been cut.
Okay.
I still object to the process by which we got to here.
Okay.
But nothing
All
I
right.
can do about it at this point.
Gotcha. Do we have a motion to accept the consent? Okay.
Support. I'll make a comment based on, Sonny's feeling.
Hold on. Moved by Commissioner Johnson and supported by Commissioner Klaus. Discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
I think we could take a look at what other neighboring counties are doing with 2% and compare how they make those decisions, what their contract is, and find out if we're doing what other counties are doing before we go about this, a year from now, basically. So.
Okay. Can we do that?
Sure.
All right. Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We are going to move on to, we have a public hearing and approval consideration for the Rennie School Development Brownfield Plan. So I will open the public hearing at 6 o'clock. Do we have somebody to present on this?
Yes, Mac is here from Walmart.
Okay. Hello, welcome.
Good evening.
Hello.
Thank you. My name is Mac McClellan with Otwell Mobby, representing the Grand Traverse County Land Bank Authority. Is the TV pieces there?
Oh.
I got it right there?
Do we have to sit through a
The shoe?
I believe it's short.
EV specialist there? Thank you. I didn't really want to do a presentation, but Sonny insisted, so.
No.
I made the comment at a meeting late last week about Mac and his PowerPoint presentations and how they seem to go on and
Making
on.
fun of me.
And they're not going to go on and on, right?
I'll be very brief. It's only
Thank
2
you.
hours, so it should be a problem. So, thank you. I just want to summarize that a brownfield plan is being proposed for the redevelopment of tax-reverted property at the corner of Rennie School Road, southwest corner of Rennie School Road and US 31, that's owned by the Land Bank Authority. Certain brownfield eligible activities are proposed to be reimbursed over time based on the increased taxes generated by private investment on that property. The capture is limited to 10 years or the time to reimburse the eligible activities, whichever is less. If there's greater growth in the private investment and there's more dollars available to repay that, those dollars will be paid off, but no greater than 10 years. The Brownfield Plan was approved by the Brownfield Authority on June 27th. Blair Township concurred with the plan on July 10th, and a public hearing and county board action tonight are necessary to finalize the Brownfield Plan. Was that quick enough?
Yeah.
You have some additional detail if you'd like me to go on, but that's kind of summarizes the approach that we have right now.
Proud of you, Mac.
Just, I'm not done yet.
Then I rescind my pride.
That was it. All right. I'll just briefly go through the project. The Land Bank Authority received about 73.5 acres through tax foreclosure on that property in Rennie School Road. It's just north of the baseball park and is on that southwest corner there. The parcel, there's a property split underway. It was a little bit large for one development opportunity. Land Bank Authority's been working for that. So it's proposed to be split up in 3 separate parcels, east, central, or middle, and the west parcel for different purposes. There's a parcel split that's underway and is actually going through on the eastern portion of the property that is being sold or has been sold to Blaine's Farm and Fleet for the development of their property, and there are subsequent developments for the middle and west parcel I'll talk about momentarily. The Land Bank Authority has been working with various entities to try and develop this property, to market it and redevelop the property. In discussions with potential purchasers included the need for some brownfield incentives and reimbursement of some of the extraordinary costs on that property. So we're conditioned of them moving forward with this potential significant investment on the property. And any property that's owned by the Land Bank Authority automatically qualifies as brownfield property. Typically, they're contaminated, blighted, functionally obsolete, or historic, but because the Land Bank Authority owns it, the law provides for any property that's owned by the Land Bank Authority to qualify as eligible property. So just quickly, the east parcel is about 23.5 acres. It's been acquired by Blaine's Farm and Fleet. As you may know, they're Wisconsin-based companies with 38 stores. They're planning expansions in Michigan and 2 stores, Jackson and Portage and here. A total investment of about $10 million. And then the parcel split also includes 3 outlots that will also be developed as part of their property. It's just a quick site plan that has been approved at Blair Township for planning purposes, and you may see that some of the work is already underway. The middle parcel is about 25.5 acres. It's being acquired by local successful restaurateurs for business and individual storage operations. There is a purchase agreement with the Land Bank Authority that is contingent upon the approval of the Brownfield Plan to move forward. Estimated investment of about $7.5 million for that parcel. The west parcel is again about 25.5 acres. It's targeted for residential development. There's not a specific purchaser at this point in time, but there is an opportunity. This just provide a brief layout of the middle parcel for storage and operations proposed, and they had received approval for this from Blair Township, of multifamily housing above, and then residential development on that western parcel that's there. As I mentioned, property owned or under the control of the Land Bank Authority is eligible. Uniquely, the city of Traverse City as a core community has site preparation and infrastructure as additional eligible activities, but Land Bank authorities also can bring those to the table as well. They're also eligible activities for Land Bank Authority-owned properties. So that was a significant part of the opportunities here for the project. The Blaine's parcel wasn't owned by the Land Bank Authority at the time of the Brownfield Plan approval, but it still qualifies as adjacent or contiguous. That actual parcel split is going to happen in December of 2018, the way that...
The 3 parcels that they have, or is that under the Brownfield Plan, or
Yes.
is that all? Okay.
Yep, the whole property is, but there was just a little bit of a quirk that they had acquired the property before the Brownfield Plan was approved.
But we included it in the Brownfield Plan.
Yes, yeah. So there are some key elements to this, is infrastructure improvements that are proposed, a signal at Rennie School Road and US 31, which is a critical opportunity for safety at that intersection with the increased growth and development. There's a deceleration lane for south of Rennie School Road into Blaine's. Some Rennie School Road improvements as well. A water main to service the site and the connector between Stadium Drive and Rennie School Road. That's part of that middle and west redevelopment. Nate's been in contact with the Road Commission. One of the requirements is that these have to be public infrastructure, so they either have to be accepted by the Road Commission or an easement is provided that the Road Commission has some responsibility. Nate's been in contact with them and had some interest by the Road Commission. This is a pretty, the Road Commission does not generally like to take over new roads, but this is a pretty good opportunity connecting major properties and providing safety, outlet, ingress and egress to that Rennie School Road intersection. So just a quick look of all of the costs that have been included in there. They're separated by the east parcel and the middle parcel. There are no proposed eligible activities for the western parcel, the residential parcel. As well, there are public opportunities. The Road Commission and Land Bank Authority have taken responsibility for the traffic signal improvements at that site. Again, those are reimbursable investments, reimbursable eligible activities that will be reimbursed back to the Land Bank Authority as well. And then there's some administrative operating costs and paying high-priced consultants to put this brownfield plan together. Some considerations.
Can you say that faster?
Yes, I've tried to just scoot right over that.
I can repeat it.
I could just about get that.
Fun's gonna flip out.
State tax capture, we decided not to pursue state tax capture for this. As you may know, that about half of the capture is state and half is local. This doesn't fit in the wheelhouse of approval for the MEDC for their projects, so we inquired, but they didn't seem to be very interested in that. Again, the term is limited to 10 years. If the development does not occur as fast and there's not enough investment, that capture is cut off at 10 years, and the taxes will go back to the taxing jurisdictions. The way that things are looking right now, it looks like that's going to easily be met. We're proposing to reimburse the Land Bank Authority costs for the signal first in that, and then the capture will be allocated based on each parcel. So Blaine's will have its eligible activities. There'll be revenues based on their investment. They'll be able to capture those. The middle parcel will have eligible activities. They'll capture those taxes. Once each of those are paid off, we can trade and be done with that capture. There was an opportunity to look at a local brownfield revolving fund allocation, but Blair Township did not agree to that as part of their concurrence. So there is no local brownfield fund allocation for this project. The schedule, again, it was introduced at the Brownfield Authority on May 30th. They approved the plan on June 27th. Blair Township approved on July 9th, and we're here tonight for the public hearing and your consideration to finalize approval of the brownfield plan. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, anybody have questions for Mac? Tom?
Did you say the deceleration lane as part of US 31 is covered with brownfield?
Yes, it's in the public right of way.
Yeah, I guess I would say, although I support the brownfield, I really support the brownfield money being used to add to a state highway, U.S. highway. I think they should be up for that and use their own money. But I support the project.
Anybody else? Sonny?
Well, as I brought to you several months ago when the Blaine parcel first came up, one of the conditions that Blaine stipulated for the purchase of that property was to have the traffic light. We had a traffic study done. We've had the engineering done, and as you know, that has been approved. We're still waiting for DOT's final approval for the traffic light, I believe, but at least we have preliminary. We have the engineering in place. DOT doesn't move really fast when it comes to creating and putting in traffic lights. Construction on that site has moved forward. I think it's going very well. They anticipate that they're ahead of schedule as near as I've heard from anything else. At the Land Bank Authority meeting last week, we scheduled a closing date on the second parcel of that property. If you recall, the county actually had a little surplus money on the Blaine property, which we committed toward, at least we've preliminarily committed toward the pension debt, and the sale price of the second piece of approximately $300,000. 100% of that will be free and clear for the county to use at its discretion, less the realtor's fee. One of the biggest problems with this parcel of property when we talked about redeveloping it from the very beginning was the fact that there was a $1.2 million special assessment for a water sewer system on that parcel of property by Blair Township. It was a previous owner, possible developer, had promised Blair that they were going to do a major project here. So as when their last expansion of their water system in that area was done, it was built into that system. The development never came to fruition, and therefore there was a huge debt, if you will, for the creation of a water system for that parcel of property that never happened. Blaine's nor the second piece of the property will even become close to using the water usages that we have. So we're kind of hoping that we can find a multifamily residential developer that would use some of that water usage. And somehow, at least in my mind, the property off Silver Lake Road, farther west of that parcel of property, is low-density residential. Then it's moving to multifamily, high-density residential, light industrial, which is the second parcel of the property, and the commercial property frontage on US 31 or 37. I think the transition of between those properties makes sense. Blair Township had to make a couple changes in their zoning, and it's my understanding that they're moving forward with that, right, Nicole? You know, they are moving forward with changing that because there was no high density or residential in that area. So I think we're moving forward. Mac and with Malby and Malby have done a good job putting this together for us. We had some discussion last week. DOT is going to require a deceleration lane actually north of Rennie School Road. That is not in this brownfield plan. If in fact they do come through and they tell us we have to, we have the ability, once the plan is approved, to amend the plan to include that. It is a brownfield eligible expense. We can use it. At least in my mind, and I believe all of the members of the Land Banks Authority, it wasn't appropriate for us to go back to Blaine's and tell them they had to cover a portion of that cost. It's not frontage on their property. It's a deceleration lane that DOT is probably going to require us north of Rennie School Road. The creation or the addition of the traffic light at that intersection is going to be huge. You know, if you've ever been there when the Elmer's trucks are lined up in the morning trying to get out of Rennie School Road out onto the highway, and you're behind 2 or 3 gravel trains, they don't slip out there like your little sports car does. So they need a significant space. We need the traffic light there. In my mind, it's absolutely ridiculous that the traffic light was removed. You may remember the traffic light was installed at that intersection during the whole reconstruction of Chum's Corners. And then as soon as the construction was completed, DOT took it out. But they're going to charge us $164,000 to put it back.
Do you need a motion?
We're gonna have.
We gotta have public comment.
We still have to have public comment. It's a public hearing.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, so does anybody have public comment on this particular issue? Because it is a public hearing. Yes, ma'am.
3257 County Road 633, Blair Township. I'm also the Blair Township Supervisor. I'm so excited about this, you guys.
A little closer to the microphone, though. Thank you.
I'm so excited about this project. Blair Township is excited about this project, and I just want to express my thanks to Mac, to the Brownfield people, to the Land Bank, to Gene Durenzi, to the commission, to everybody. This has been such a collaborative effort to put our heads together, figure out how are we going to sell this property for the county, for the township. Sonny, your speech was perfect. I mean, I just even learned some more history from you on that. It was the sewer assessment on that property that was huge. I think the county acquired that property 2015, I think. I think this says 16, but I think it was 15. And it's been a huge financial tax burden on the township. So splitting this land, working this brownfield plan in for these developments, and getting to know these new business people that are coming into our community, very community-based. It's very, very exciting. So on the behalf of Blair Township, we thank you for your support and everybody's hard work on this project.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment on this particular item? Okay.
Dan Bauer, 7034 Schickter Road, Kingsley. I drive a school bus. I come down Rennie School Road, and I make a left-hand turn with special ed students, and Sonny is absolutely correct. That's a very hazardous intersection, turning left. Sometimes we have to take the center lane to make it to the right, and it's an accident going to happen there. And so, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so we will close the public hearing portion at 6:17 p.m.
Madam Chairman, I would move that we approve the brownfield plan for the Rennie School Road parcel.
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Lathrop. Additional discussion? Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Mac, you weren't on the clock tonight, were you? You weren't on the clock tonight,
Oh,
were
of
you?
course not. No, I'm on vacation actually this week. This is how I get to spend it with you, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have another public hearing, which we will open at 6:18.
If I could,
Go ahead, Dean.
I'll introduce, the purpose
Yes.
of the public hearing is to close out a project and highlight its accomplishments. We have Mr. Doyle Berg here tonight with Berg Well Drilling. This was a community development block grant. And we have Laura, if I pronounce your last name incorrectly, Galbraith from Venture North here to briefly satisfy the requirements of the public hearing and to provide a brief explanation of the project and what they were able to do with the loan. So Laura, with that, Mr. Berg too, you have the podium.
Great, thank you so much. I'm Laura Galbraith. I'm the Executive Director of Venture North Funding and Development, and we manage the Grand Traverse County CDBG, or Community Development Block Grant Loan Fund. The loan, just really quick, the loan fund originated from HUD, which is Housing and Urban Development, and all projects need to meet the national objective, which is to eliminate blight or create jobs for low to moderate income individuals. So I'm here today because we have a successful project and we're required to have a public hearing. In 2017, we did have an opportunity to work with Berg Well Drilling. Berg Well Drilling is a water well drilling repair and service company located at 3139 Keystone Road in Traverse City. It's been family owned and operated since 1920. Excuse me, 1920. They had an opportunity to expand and needed additional equipment, and they were planning on hiring positions, 3 full-time positions over a 2-year period. And we actually were able to have the county support this project, and we were able to have the jobs created a little bit sooner than we had anticipated. So we have Doyle Berg, the owner, here with me as well. But because the project was successful with the job creation aspect, and Berg Well Drilling has been always current on their loan repayments and will continue to do so, we're just here to allow the public to ask questions. And this is really just the final report of yet another successful project with the Community Development Block Grant Loan Fund. So
Okay.
that said, any questions?
Okay, yeah, did the commissioners have any questions? At this point, no?
Is Mr. Berg going to speak?
Yep, I just wanted to make sure nobody had any questions. Yes, sir, you can come up. Do you have something to tell us?
No, very successful. I do have a question for Mr. Wheelock. We got called out today to a mobile home park up on Gray Hill Road, requesting another well by the DEQ because they don't have water. Did I understand you to say that the water main going past will be more than enough to supply all that development out there?
That water line comes the other direction, it comes from Blair Township.
Oh.
The water line that we're talking about comes from Blair Township past the Ball Diamond and serves that area. Does it go all the way across the Silver Lake? Nick, does it go all the way through? It just comes out to Rennie School Road.
They were looking for some more water if you had it available. So, interesting enough, one of our ladies here tonight, we drilled her well this summer with the new equipment we got, so kind of
good.
fitting.
Okay.
I had a question for Mr. Berg.
Okay.
How did you find the process?
It worked quite well with Venture North. We were looking for people to run the equipment we bought, and we got 3 brand-new people. It took us 5. We got 3 out of 5, so that's pretty good. Good, and so we're very satisfied with the young men we picked up. And if you're not aware of it, this is a very, very, very busy business, and we're thankful for the work, and we're doing our best, working 6 days a week to keep water to everybody.
Great.
It's working very well. Good process.
Thank you.
Bob?
Before the meeting, he was talking, and it was just amazing to me when you mentioned, 1920. So you're coming up on your 100th year anniversary. And how many generations are you going to have in there now?
5.
5 generations in the business. That's just amazing.
2020, you'll see something on TV and the papers in Traverse
Yeah.
City. We will have a party.
Nice.
100 years with 5 generations.
Wow.
2020.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yes, very much. Okay, since it's a public hearing, does anybody from the public have anything? No?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will close the public hearing at 6:23. And there's no action required. No? Okay, thank you. We have no items removed from the consent calendar. We have from, I'm sorry? Oh, go ahead. We have from Facilities Management, painting of the Law Enforcement Center.
Joe is here tonight to talk about the next 3 topics, and
Okay.
we thought it appropriate that he be the one to present.
Okay? Hi, Joe.
Good evening, everyone. The first, I'm asking for approval for $36,100 to paint the exterior of the Law Enforcement Center. That's part of the capital improvement plan. We followed the Mitten submittal process. I came back with 2 people that submitted bids. One was Summit Properties out of Clarkston, Michigan. The other one was Painting by Paul locally. Painting by Paul was the low bid at $36,100, and he has been doing work. He's just completing up the Civic Center pool painting job. So doing good work, feel very comfortable with him, and just asking for approval on that.
So move.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Gorfulet, supported by Commissioner Johnson.
Is this money budgeted, or is this going to have
Yes.
to require new? It is.
It is budgeted. Anybody else have any other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Moving on. Tell us about the Civic Center pool roof.
The next 2 things are just informational. Here's the pool roof. I just wanted to give a before and after. These 2 shots are the condition before we started. And then as we're going through the process of tearing off the old roof and replacing it. Here's 2 more showing the edge all the way down to the metal. We took 2 roofs off and went down to the steel and started putting the new ones back on. Here's the process of putting the new roof on. This is all glued down. It's an EPDM rubber type roof. The way we schedule it out, we minimized our seams, so there's only 3 seams through the entire roof system. And then here's how it looks now that we're done. That's due on the, from the other morning.
It's a thing of beauty.
What's the life of that, Joe?
25 years. At least that's what the warranty is. Now, chances are we could go longer than that, but 25 years is the minimum.
So move. Oh, we don't need a motion.
No, it was just an update.
It looks really nice.
It does.
Then the secondary thing, some questions about this job were the warranty paperwork and where were we going to go with this? Well, then that brings us to my second presentation to pull up. This is a direction that we want to go as a facilities department, is the full asset management of the county properties, including all of the internal HVAC systems, all the different components. So phase 1 was from the day I started till now, which was an evaluation of the assets and what we have and where are we currently. So at this point, we don't have a strong documentation base or software that we can really utilize to put all this information in. So the documentation component is, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. So the third portion is, once we get done with all of our updating of the software, it's implementation of being able to utilize the software, design preventative maintenance so we can continually take care of our property and all the components in it. Right now, where we are at is requests are currently reviewed through an email system going to a facilities mailbox. They're reviewed by a couple of us here in the department, and then they're put on a spreadsheet just to give us some kind of tracing and trackability of what the guys have to do every day. There are no preventative maintenance or predictive maintenance processes in place currently that's documented that we could utilize to give us periodic updates. So with this in mind, I've looked at a number of different asset management softwares, and I came up with one that will really work well, that's designed for entities such as us, hospitals, governmental type entities versus a manufacturing. We did have one previously, but that was set up more towards a manufacturing environment, which does not really give what we need to make it value added. So I just real quick read down this. What this new system will give us is work order and request tracking, task scheduling, asset data aggregation and management with photos, inventory management, cost projection data for planning for the future, PM and predictive maintenance plans, information availability on portable devices. We can take tablets wherever we're at, so as we're working on things, you get the job done, you pull up the work order right on your tablet, sign it off, and you move on. That saves time from having to go back to the shop, sit down in front of a computer, write everything up. So there's going to be a lot of savings as far as labor time. Compliance, risk management, and reporting of documentation. Hence, this is where our 25-year warranty will go in under the portion of this software, and as well as emergency management. We can monitor all our fire equipment, our fire extinguishers, things of that nature. Just a couple of highlights of the software. One of the nice things is this has actual CAD drawings of our floor plans. So if you look up here, you've got the different colors. That's all different pieces of equipment. So if you have somebody new or somebody just wants to find out what's going on, they know where the piece of equipment is, they hover above it, and then you'll get this picture right here that actually shows the photo of the asset, and you can walk into the room and just say, hey, that's what piece of equipment I want to look at. This is what I need to do on it.
Can you put in job aids or maintenance procedures or anything like that so they can look all that up on?
That's how this is all set up.
Okay.
You put in job aids, you put in documents, your manufacturer's documents, you put in anything special you need to do, and then you write your preventative maintenance program for that piece of equipment, utilizing what the manufacturer recommends, as well as what you've accomplished or encountered with this piece of equipment over time.
Okay.
And that way you can customize it. Yes, ma'am.
What's the redundancy? I know that we have had a couple of issues where warranties expired, and there was no one keeping track of when the warranty was going to run out.
Well,
So what's the redundancy? What's the backup system?
To double check them.
Right.
That's where you can come up and do a preventative maintenance work order. So once a year, I would go in and the work order would say, check all your warranties, find out where we are on the warranties. Do we have to do anything to stay in compliance with the warranties? So I could totally forget about it for 9-10 months, and then on that 11th month, when I run what are my current work orders coming available, it'll come right down a list and show me what I need to look at and focus on.
Excellent.
This is
Most
just
of these
a,
programs will also allow you to program in an alert system, whereas, 6 months or a year prior to the expiration of either the warranty or the projected life of a piece of equipment, it will send you a
Give you a
warning
prompt.
system.
this is just a copy of the work order that people would see, and everybody in the county, this will be on our intranet. So if somebody has a work that needs to be done, we're going to put a website link on the intranet site so people can just go right out and fill this out, and then I can go in and review all the requests and then make those into work orders. This is just it's hard to see, but there's a quick showing of the different types of reports. There's just a plethora of reports you want to do. Plus, I can customize them. If you have something specific you want to find out about, I can just dial up, make a custom report, print it off in 5 minutes, and we're done. But this is the direction we're going. What had been used before was MVP Plant. That was a cost of about $1,250 a month for 10 users. no floor plan options, and it is geared more towards a manufacturing process. I've set that up for a manufacturing Cadillac, and it works very well. It's just not good for us here. What we're going to be spending is approximately $500 a month for unlimited users, because it's based on square footage and not the amount of people that are logging into the system. It's fully cloud-based with portable device capabilities, whether it's Apple, IBM, or Android. So everybody can get into it, and it is designed for facilities and governmental entities. But that's all I had, just to let you know the direction that we're going to try to categorize and capture the rest of our assets.
Joe, has Ming been part of this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she'll be able to use it and utilize it for all of her computer equipment. All the servers, you can find out what drops are in what room, and it'll help her and her team out.
Very good. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Commissioner.
Yes.
Through the discussion of this, it was obvious that Joe has a lot of passion of preventative maintenance, scheduled maintenance, and documentation. So he has a plan in his mind to present to you periodically where we were, where we are now, and where we're going to go. This software falls right into it, and Joe's been doing a nice job with this, so thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. So we don't need approval, it was just an update. Okay.
That's correct.
Well, I think if I could, the comment that I would make is the fact that what we have discovered, and this isn't the first time, is that we really never had a good inventory or a preventative maintenance plan. You know, I think we talked about preventative maintenance plans last week's meeting. You know, so, you know, just the idea that we're keeping it in mind and trying to move forward with those.
Well, and that even plays into where, you know, if you find suddenly you're working on the same piece of equipment, you know, at least you have documentation to say, look, we're getting to where we might need to replace this, you know.
And we all have those, you know.
Yeah.
I have equipment in my building, well, Christ, it seems like I just worked on this, or it's not very old.
Get to be
but,
our age in a
you
year
know,
seems like 4 years ago.
It seems
so
like,
you know.
seems like it's a relatively
Speak
new
for
piece of
yourself.
equipment, and then when I go checking, it's 10 years old, you know.
How long has Joe been with us?
Less than a year.
5 months.
Joe, how long you been with us?
5 months or so.
5 months.
Yeah, okay, so I would just want to highlight that,
Yes.
because this is an issue that we have been struggling with for some time, because it's very difficult to build a budget that makes sure that we are caring for the county assets when we don't know what needs to be taken care of. So thank you very much. This is
Yes.
really good stuff. Thanks.
I like that we're being proactive instead of reactive. This is very, very good stuff.
In your budget, you outlaid some capital improvement projects for 2018, and Joe has gone down those projects methodically, and if not already checked off, he's very close to checking off on all the projects. And the LEC painting, Sonny, my apologies, is part of that funding as well, so.
No, and you know, we have a capital improvement plan, you know, it probably hasn't been updated for a few years at this point, you know, and you know, somewhere along the way in the process, we will reprioritize and make sure that we're right. You know, our wants and our needs do change from time to time.
Okay. All right. Moving on to finance. Township of Blair 2018 Water System Project. Dean?
The next step in the process is for the board to issue the attached resolution. This is the resolution that would authorize the actual bond issue. This is for well number 4, the iron removal plant for Blair Township. I believe that Blair Township awarded contracts on July 24th, and the bonds are scheduled to be sold on September 1st. So I'm asking for your approval of the resolution that's in your packet.
So move.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Gorfulet, supported by Commissioner Johnson. Do we have any questions, comments? Yes,
Just
honey?
the comment that I would make is here's a perfect example where Grand Traverse County as an entity is able to help the taxpayers of Blair Township in saving significant money by us bonding the project compared to them trying to go out and get financing or bond this. The savings, you know, I didn't catch in there somewhere. There's probably, normally Dean can give me an idea of how many dollars we save by the county bonding this project, but my guess is it's very significant, and the county as an entity is able to do that and therefore save taxpayers of Blair Township and our community a significant amount of money.
Bob?
In a number, just since I've been on the board, have actually paid off some of these type bonds early to save even more money. So you know, it does work out well. So.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Moving on to administration, the general fund advance to the drain revolving fund for the 2 drains that we talked about last week. Go ahead. Dean? Yep.
The first item is to provide funds to the drain revolving fund to do work on the 2 drains that had the immediate need, one being the old Mission drain, and then the other being the Silver Lake level structure. This is not a budget item. It's money that we're loaning to another fund within your accounting system, and those funds are accounted for then as the costs are incurred for those 2 drainage districts. And that may not be the right term for the lake level, but those funds will be accounted for, and then ultimately a special assessment district will be probably reestablished because those districts already exist, but that will be how those funds are then recovered. This would then be authorization to advance an additional $20,000 from the general fund to the drain revolving fund so that the drain commissioner has the funds to work with to do the maintenance that's determined to be necessary for those 2 drainage districts.
Okay.
I'll move to accept.
Okay.
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Mayer and seconded by Commissioner Lathrop. Discussion, Sunny?
Dean, do we
And Ron.
want to earmark that, those funds specifically, 10,000 for one, 10,000 for the other, or we're simply at this point just advancing money to the drain revolving fund and that will be spent as is required?
The latter. I really don't want to tie, I mean, I don't know, I don't think anybody really knows what, you know, if that's going to be split 50-50, so I would prefer that we not do that. It's just the $20,000 amount to the drain revolving fund, and it will be accounted for as to where those costs are actually incurred.
Okay, Ron?
That was my question.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Good.
Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the drain commissioner salary discussion, kind of a continuation from last week. Nate, you want to tell us about
Yeah.
your recommendation?
Yes, thank you. My apologies for not being here last week, but prior to that meeting, I did some analysis after many conversations with the drain commissioner, administration, and some commissioners. And that recommendation fell to an analysis of what was done in 2012 to where we are currently, specific to what the drain commissioner feels is required to satisfactorily provide services to the county drains. And after your study session last week, follow-up conversations with the drain commissioner and the administration, there is no immediately identifiable starting point to this salary question. So I think I will fall back to the initial recommendation to go to the $15,000 level for 18, based on the analysis I provided to you last week, and allow us to do a job task analysis through human resources to try to identify a close classification that exists currently that we can try to identify a salary for the 2019 and beyond period. I talked to HR today. They believe they can do that, that an evaluation of the job duties of the drain commissioner can be likened to existing job classifications, and we could draw down an hourly rate that can be applied to whatever the commissioners feel would be, whether it's a full-time job, 3/4 time, half-time, whatever it would be, we would at least have a salary or hourly rate to attach to that. That would be my recommendation at this time.
Yes, Ron, start with you.
Do we do that with any other elected positions?
I don't believe we do.
Do we, and this might be a question for Chris, should we start with what statutory duties are rather than a job? I mean, isn't it already in the drain code? I mean, the job description and statutory duties?
Yeah, this probably makes sense as a starting point, that the drain code does identify the role of the drain commissioner, his duties, which in a nutshell is he's to have jurisdiction over the drains in the county. Now, he can be assigned other duties. Prior drain commissioners were given additional duties. But I agree, that's probably the best starting point, is look at the drain code and identify what exactly are the duties. Now, let me also state that there's the Land Division Act, there's statutes related to mobile homes that have the drain commissioner perform other tasks, but the bulk of what he does is under the drain code.
Can those tasks be subcontracted out?
Well, under the drain code, I did do some research on that. Again, I go back to, he has jurisdictions over the drains.
Right.
So I think it's within his power to subcontract out some of that work so that certain tasks are done. If the question, though, is, could the board itself subcontract out that work? The answer is probably not, given he has that authority over the drains.
Okay, so, and how about the reviews? The reviews with mobile home parks?
That I'm not sure. That would have to take a look at the statutes and see what we could do there.
And being an elected official, if we put more duties onto him, he really, we have no control over an elected official. An elected official doesn't necessarily need to abide by the rules we put out there for him, I mean, until his term is up 4 years for re-election.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, it's a co-employer relationship where he has power over the non-economic functions of his office. The board has control over the economic functions. In other words, you have the power of the purse. Right. But he has control over what he does, how he does it.
Okay. Thank you.
Cheryl? Well, just to follow up on Ron's questioning, you're saying that the drain commissioner could subcontract out portions of his job to someone else?
Yeah, I think
what
it would
cost?
it would be permissible for him to subcontract out work, for example, and it's already being done, engineering work on establishing a new drain. You do have to bring in professionals to do the actual engineering, the studies, and figure out what will be the size and scope of this project. So that's being done. The policy in this county is that the elected officials have agreed to be bound by a purchasing policy.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll just go around. Bob, do you have any?
My one big concern that we talked about at the study session was, I can see the need for right now. There was a reason they reduced it years ago. My concern is if we raise it now, and in a year, you find out, year and a half, that, all right, and I know Steve's saying, no, that won't happen, but in a year and a half from now, and you say, wait a minute, the job is greatly decreased, we've got all the maintenance planned and all this other stuff, so we're good to go, Cass Road's well on its way. Can we get language in there to reduce it? Because statute says no.
That's correct.
So if it's all or nothing, there's no way we could word it, though, in there to say you would reevaluate it at 2019?
This one was.
This one.
And then I know that I may be the only one that's even
the
worried about
the way
that.
we drafted the resolution was, you pay him $15,000 for 18, and then part of your 19 budget process, you evaluate the work that he's doing, and you look at his salary. One of the approaches the board might want to look at is, by law, the drain commissioner should be filing an annual report every year. So that would probably be a good starting point. Look at his annual report. Based on that, look at the work that he's doing, and then make a determination: do we keep it at 15 or do we go up to whatever it may be? But you're absolutely right. Once you increase, you can't then next year say we're going back down to 7,200.
When can you? Because it's been up and down.
You can do it at the end of his term, before November 1st.
Before they file, right? Before they have a chance to file. So.
Right.
And I went into that in the study session thinking, what in the heck are we doing here? But after listening to all the things that we're just so behind on, I can just see where we've got to at least get called up and get a plan going, so.
Tom?
Well, I'm concerned that, you know, that we'll set a higher salary, and then, you know, once the work is caught up on, that the future board will either pay attention or not to the fact that, you know, that the salary they may think it's too high, you know, once the work is caught up. So if we set the salary high now, you know, it's permanent, basically. It's permanent until somebody reverses it, and you can't reverse it in the term. You have to
Right.
wait until the next.
Right.
Because you can't lower. You can raise, but you can't lower.
Right.
So that's the part I don't like. I think that ultimately, you know, a year or so from now, it's not a full-time job if it wasn't thought to be a full-time job 3, 4, 6 years ago. So I'm kind of confused by that. I'd like to see the evaluation from HR before I made a decision, if there's more evaluating to be done on, you know, like how much time it takes to do it normally versus getting the time to get caught up. So I'm kind of not comfortable with voting tonight because I have questions and I'm not sure about it. I don't know what everybody here on this board agrees, but, you know, whether you think that 61,000 represents a full-time job, or, you know, that represents a 3/4-time job, or, because it's not based on hours, that's not what it's about, it's a salary. So you can work as many hours as it takes to get the job done. There's nothing changing that. So I guess I just wanted to know, you know, how the board feels. What does the 61,165 represent? And are they comfortable with setting a salary that might seem too high to a future board, and that board wouldn't be able to reduce it until the following term for the drain commissioner, which is, what, 4 years, right? Yeah, so,
2 years left from
yeah,
now.
but in 4 years normally.
Right.
Right.
So just for clarification, though, the resolution here is to raise it to 15 temporarily.
Right, I get
Yeah,
that.
okay. Deanne?
Okay, I do support administration. I want to bring up just a simple facts of 4 different counties here. Steve is asking for about a $60,000 salary or increments thereof. Berry County has a $58,000 salary. He has 181 drains. Calhoun, $65,000 salary. They have 500 drains. I can't even say it. Lenawee,
Lenawee?
how do you say that? $55,000 salary. They have 709 drains. Van Buren, $62,000. They have 575 drains. We have 11 drains. This is too expensive for our taxpayers. I want the job done. I want the job done right. But I believe it can be done much cheaper and just as good. So I can't support the premise of a $62,000 full-time salary and then granting increments thereafter. This just isn't right. So I do think it's a very important job. I think it should be paid fairly, but this way of analyzing it is not fair to our taxpayers.
Okay, Sonny?
Well, first and foremost, I certainly am not anywhere near talking about $60,000. The $60,000 salary that was paid previously, that individual was also in charge of soil erosion and stormwater. Now, I personally believe stormwater should probably be added back into the responsibility of the drain commissioner, because what we've absolutely seen is that when we get these big rainstorms or these big runoffs, it immediately affects our county drains. So I think stormwater should be added back in. I don't have a problem having the sanitarians do the soil erosion piece. The $15,000, I'm okay with that. You know, I'd like to have some discussion going forward into 2019. You know, we have to remember that a next drain commissioner will not take office until January of 2021, because the election will be held in November of 2020. So the next drain commissioner won't take office until January of 2021. What we heard from Steve last week was a very, very drawn-out process of what we have to do to evaluate our 11 county drains and 2 lake levels, and how to develop a maintenance plan, develop a special assessment district. Now, I believe that statutorily, we're going to find that the creation of the special assessment district as to who actually qualifies to be in it, and the creation of the tax roll are statutorily the responsibility of the drain commissioner. So, he may hire an engineering firm to help him with creating where that water district is, if you will. But the fact is, that is statutorily his responsibility. It's not something that we, because one of the initial thoughts was maybe we could say, okay, we will give you a $5,000 administrative stipend to create the Cass Road drain. We can't do that. It is statutorily the responsibility of the drain commissioner to set the geographic boundaries and the tax roll for that Cass Road drain. So that, if we want that work done, we're going to have to figure out a way to compensate for it. $7,200 doesn't get that done. Now, I do believe that, everybody's right, and once these maintenance plans are in place, the special assessment districts are in place, and if the special assessment districts are in place and they're properly done, there will be funding from that district to take care of the maintenance plan. What we obviously have discovered through this process and this discussion is the fact that we have county drains that are 30 years old that never, from day one, had a maintenance plan for them. We didn't get 6-inch trees in a drainage district, in a drain area, because it happened last week. So, I think what we have to do is we have to acknowledge that we need someone to oversee the creation of those special assessment districts, set the geographic boundaries of those drainage districts, and develop the plan, the maintenance plan. Whether that number is $15,000, whether that number is $20,000, whether that number is whatever. I think that's for more discussion, and I think if HR can help us with an evaluation, that's great. But the bottom line is, we are not properly compensating the drain commissioner at this time to expect him to do any of that work that needs to be done.
Cheryl?
I don't have a problem with the 15,000. I think
Okay.
that's appropriate.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that my concern is that we have one elected official that we're looking at changing their compensation rate.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of elected officials that we need to be looking at their compensation rate. And I really, hi, Tom. I really didn't want this to turn into a piecemeal. I don't think it should be piecemeal. And, God bless Steve. I mean, he's been at it, and he's worked hard to get where he is to get to this point tonight. And, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. But everybody who's an elected official should not have to jump through those hoops to get evaluated, because they do deserve raises, in my opinion. And so I implore the administration to please look at that issue and come back to us with a recommendation, because in 2020, they will all be up for reelection.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean we can't do anything in the interim, okay? Thanks.
Okay. Bob?
And we did that last year. We had the ad hoc committee, and just about everybody we looked at,
Well,
we were...
not since I've been on the board.
we-
We haven't.
no, we did-
A couple of years ago.
It was in 16.
Was it
It was
16?
in
Okay.
fall of 16.
Yeah, but everybody was in a decent range.
At that
Yes,
time.
can it be reevaluated? I agree completely.
Okay.
One of the comments I did have, because I had the same thought as, well, wait a minute, he ran on the election and everything, but I think part of it is, you don't know what you don't know till you get in here, and I don't think anybody on this board would have told you that, for all these years, we've had no real maintenance plan or anything like that. So I think,
That's why I'm not opposed to the
normally I
raise.
would say, well, you signed up, but again, I think for this one, that, it's like you signed up to eat an apple and there's an elephant sitting in front of you, so.
And I would encourage administration, when you work with the Human Resources, to contact former drain commissioners. Maureen Templeton was the drain commissioner for many, many years, from what I understand. There's a wealth of information as to what is necessary and needed.
Okay.
So even at budget time, it might be possible she might come in and talk to us about the job itself.
Well,
Shed a little light
one
on
of the
that.
things we found out when we did that evaluation was it's very hard to compare county to county.
It is, so here's someone
You
who
know,
did it in our county, so
yeah.
that might help.
Because even the same as, well, they've got 500 drains in this, you know,
Right,
he's making
it's-
this. It's
it's
still
not
very
apples to apples.
difficult, because then you say, well, how many support staff do they have that are doing some of this work?
Right.
And, you know, again, really, we had a difficult time when we did that review. And I thought we did pretty fair at that, so.
Madam Chairman, I would move to approve the administrator's recommendation to raise the drain commissioner's salary to $15,000 for the remainder of 2018, and that we will set the 2019 salary as part of the 2019 budget.
Support.
So,
Move.
just for clarity's sake, just not to create any confusion, the way it's written is 15,000 for the year 2018.
Right.
Right.
All right.
Okay, so moved by Commissioner Wheelock and supported by Commissioner Gorfulet. Ron, you had a comment, and then I'm going to open it up to public comment.
With the drain commissioner, he can hire anybody he chooses to help him as a subcontractor to support him in that, in that job in his job.
That's correct.
And if he hires people, that then can be charged back to that drain district that they're working on.
Correct.
If we raise a salary, the, all of the taxpayers are paying for that salary.
That's correct.
I really can't support any increase, just based on, it was a job that he ran for. We knew that when we ran for this term, we were getting a buck, and so be it, we got our buck. And we knew what we were in for. If, when anybody's running for a job, you can't, it may be a little bit more than what you plan on, but like what was said tonight, it can't be 800 to 1,000% harder than what you expected it would be. Just can't be. You either way underestimated it, or the county was hiding stuff from you. I don't believe we were hiding anything. So I can't support any action for pay increase.
Okay. I promised I would open it up to public comment. So does anybody at this time have comments? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name's Barry Andrews. I'm a resident of Silver Lake, 477 Roman Drive. I am also the treasurer for the Silver Lake Improvement Association and the drain liaison, so I've been working with Steve. I don't have a prepared statement, so I'm going to ramble a little bit. Please bear with me. It was mentioned earlier that they didn't think Steve should have any more than the 4 hours a week that he agreed to when he ran for election. I agree with the statement. You don't know what you're getting into until you get your feet wet. And I know we met with Steve not long after he was elected and went over what the drain actually consisted of. There was no transition from the old drain commissioner to Steve. He didn't know there was file cabinets out in the hallway that were his. He didn't know where the drain was. He didn't know anything about the operation because there was no transition. We went and met with him for several hours and went through everything. And so he started to get an understanding for that. At 4 hours a week, I think he has shot his total hours for the year on our drain this spring. It required a significant amount of work. There has been maintenance issues. It has declined. I appreciate your loaning the special assessment money to get the drain up to standards. It's declined over the years. There's other issues as far as the drain that hasn't really been discussed. We have pursued with Blair and Garfield Township trying to get a septic tank ordinance point of sale inspection required, and we've turned up deaf ears on both townships. When the water level rises in the spring, and this spring it was at least 7 inches over the high water mark, there are septic systems that are underwater, which is creating an environmental hazard in the lake. And that lake level has to be lowered in a more expeditious manner than what it is now, and that drain isn't doing it. And against, I think a lot of it is just neglect over the years, but it's going to take time to get that situation resolved. So I think Steve has done an excellent job. He wouldn't have been able to get done what he did if it wasn't for a couple of lake residents that spent a lot of time volunteering their services with him. As far as contracting services out, sometimes that's an efficient way to do it. Sometimes you get bit by bad service as well. And you need to supervise that stuff, which again translates into hours for Steve to make sure that things are being done properly. So as a Silver Lake resident, I appreciate everything you can do for us. I appreciate all the effort Steve's put into it so far. I've communicated with him on a number of issues a number of times, and I think he deserves everything that you can give him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good time.
Right on time. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Scott Ogden. I live at 5122 Silver Lake Shores Road, and I am the current president of the Silver Lake Improvement Association. I was here last week for the work study. A lot of good comments went on last week, a lot of good discussions. Again, thank you for allowing the investigation of our water overflow drain to see if there's anything that can be done to allow the water to drain out faster in the springtime. As Barry had mentioned to you before, one of our big concerns is there are many residents on the lake that have septic systems that do not meet the current code requirements with the health department as far as having enough clearance between the high groundwater level and their drain field. When we have high water, it gets worse. These systems actually start floating. Not everybody's that way, but there are a lot of them there. So that is greatly appreciated. One thing, Joe, who was here earlier, was talking preventive maintenance, and everybody was so excited about that. Well, that's what we're talking about, preventive maintenance. This drain, we had a special assessment district put in 30 years ago, and that money has been used up, but the preventive maintenance has not happened. We have no idea what's causing this thing to run slower and slower every year. So that's why we are asking for the special assessment district for that area. And I realize that Steve is the one that's going to have to put together that budget. And at 4 hours a week, you guys probably will receive it sometime next May. So I just wanted to let you know that. Please take a look at what he's doing. I mean, it's 11 drains. We saw last week what those drains were looking like. He's got a lot of work to do. And I hear what everybody's talking about, but he does have a lot of work that he's got to try and get done. So please do take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You're next.
Hi, my name is Connie Sargent. I live at 3990 Swaney in the village of Old Mission. I spoke quite a bit last week. I don't want to bore you with the facts again, but number one, I thank you for lending us, the Old Mission residents, the money to start this process. I know it's more of a lengthy process, which will involve many hours of Steve job. And, you know, maybe the previous drain commissioner or whoever before that could do the job in 4 hours a week. But I'll tell you what, he did way over that during the 45 days that I had water in my basement. The phone calls, the visits with all the people. You know, 4 hours a week is nothing. I mean, it takes 30 minutes just to get out to Old Mission. I just ask that you support him, that you support the position, you support more hours, because the technology, the deterioration, the putting out of fires is what I feel this whole thing is becoming. That's all we're doing, being reactive and not proactive on the things in our county, and it's affecting a lot of residents that are voting for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I don't think so. Okay, we will bring it back to the board. Do we have any other comments or questions? Or- Yes, Ron?
I'll just make a comment, and it's as ridiculous for me to say that Steve's not, that he's not working a lot of hours. I'm sure he is, but to say that he's only being paid for 4 hours a week, he's being paid what the citizens have agreed to pay him, no matter what the job entails. So for people to think that he's being paid for 4 hours a week, it's not right. He's being paid to do a job, and I'll say he's being underpaid for what he's doing, but I'm not going to pay him more, especially when we don't even have a report on what's been done yet. We don't have a report from the first year that he was in office, so I'm just standing by that. Thank you.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah, I take budget changes seriously, and I really would like to agree on what to do with the rest of this year as far as pay, and talk about the 2019 budget amount at the same time. I mean, it's just going to be in a few weeks. We're going to be talking about the budget. We have to have it done in December. I would like to tie the whole thing together and also include in that discussion the possibility that maybe he needs an assistant, or he contracts some of the work out. I'd like to know if that's a possibility and how that would affect the pay. And I just sort of see what we're doing tonight as a Band-Aid, and I'd like to do the whole thing at once. So I'll be voting no.
Okay. Anybody else? We do have a motion on the floor, correct? Yes. Roll call vote, please. Bonnie?
Gurfulet?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Mayor?
No.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Klaus?
No.
Crawford?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, thank you very much. We have no old unfinished business, no new business. Now is our chance for second public comment. There's nobody left? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Just another thank you for the resolution adopted tonight for the Boyd Township bonds for our iron removal treatment plant, which we need in order to continue developing at the rate we're developing. We're at near max capacity. We have our well that is ready to go, with the exception of the iron removal treatment. So that was a necessity to keep moving forward. So thank you. And it saved, Sunny, our taxpayers $1.2 million in interest alone. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, Commissioner Department reports. Yes, Dan?
Bob, would you announce again the Colonel Craw groundbreaking?
Colonel Crawl, the new VA Colonel Crawl groundbreaking for
What's
the
in
vet
that pop?
clinic. Yeah, I'm just good. That is
What is in your
tomorrow,
cup?
I believe at 2:00. I got a meeting downstate.
I think it's 2.
I believe it's at
It's
2:00.
at the old Save-A-Lot.
Yes.
And
Here
when?
comes Corners.
What
Yeah,
day?
I don't have it in
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 2 o'clock
2
tomorrow.
o'clock.
Yep.
Okay,
So if you want to be there to see where it's going to be, groundbreaking, hopefully it leads to more than just groundbreaking at some point. I'm kind of cynical because this has been a long process, so. But we greatly need an expanded VA clinic here. I know, government, and I'm cynical, but
It's going to be 17,000 square feet,
yeah,
right?
it actually is bigger than what they originally were going to put, so we'll see.
Big deal.
okay, yes, thank you very much. Anybody else? Sunny?
I mentioned to you last week before, whatever, that I would be bringing you contracts for the community mental health, from community mental health for the healthcare professional and the peer individual to work in the jail. I spoke with Joni this afternoon. The draft contracts came to her. They had a number of acronyms and abbreviations in there that I asked her to have put into something that you and I will be able to understand. She promised that I should see those contracts by the end of the week. I've spoken with Chris. Those contracts will be sent to him immediately when I get them. for their review. So hopefully by the time the board packet goes out the end of next week, you will have drafts of the final drafts of the proposed contract for those contracted individuals. Joni will also be here on the 15th to talk about the matrix and the methods we're going to try to use to track the successes of this program. It's going to be a little bumpy in the beginning because we don't have good information now. So, trying to we're going to have to establish a baseline in order to see where that goes. I met with Marilyn Conlon, who is currently our psychiatrist in the jail, for about an hour and a half last Saturday. She happens to live just down the road from me, so she came to my, she
my
came to my
comment was,
business.
did she help you?
She came, yeah, it's going to be, I
Bob.
probably
I have a
need-
gavel
No, I'm
today.
sorry. I need to schedule my own time.
I have a
on my
gavel
own time.
today. Take it
But
easy.
anyway, we had long discussions about additional services that are needed in the jail, and I think she's very much in agreement that we need additional services. And, and I think we're all in agreement there. The problem's going to be trying to determine, number one, how much service do we need and how much is it going to cost? The 20 hours of
Always the
psychiatrics,
problem.
the 20 hours of psychiatric services we're currently getting in the jail a month simply does not meet the need. The question's going to be, with these two positions that we're adding, how much of the demand on her time can be taken away? Maybe some of this can be evaluated before they ever get to her. So, but one of the discussions always comes back to the formulary. The medications that CCS approves on their formulary of what are accepted medications in the jail, about 2/3 of the medications that they will accept, she will not prescribe. And most of the medications that she is willing to prescribe, they do not accept. So she gave me some idea of literally thousands and thousands of dollars of medication that she's bringing from her private practice into our jail to treat the people in the jail. So we need to talk about that a little bit, and we need to talk about that when we talk about the rebidding of the CCS contract. Because as we mentioned before, CCS's contract is up for renewal in February, and I think the idea of their formulary has always been a contention with their contract. So we need to put pressure on CCS to evaluate that that formulary of what medications are acceptable for what treating what problems in the jail. I also received a email from Hosea, I believe it is, and I apologize. He's the forensic psychiatrist that gave us the proposal that he thought he needed 14 hours in the jail a week, with a $218,000 price tag, which I didn't even come to talk to you about. But he is going to be in Traverse City for a meeting on August 10th and has invited Todd Ritter and myself to meet with him. And I was going to talk with Nate and see if we couldn't facilitate some sort of a meeting where we could at least talk to him about, what he sees in the jail. And more importantly, the suggestion that I'm going to bring to you somewhere along the way is an independent evaluation of how we're doing at meeting the psychiatric needs in our jail. And he obviously has the expertise to do that independent evaluation. So whether that evaluation is done 3 months from now, 6 months from now, I don't know. But we need to put these other two positions in place in order to see how much that helps. So. But anyway, that's kind of what we're doing moving forward with the jail ad hoc committee and the mental health thing. You will see contracts from CMH at our meeting on the 15th for approval for those positions to be filled September 1. They have applicants for both of those positions. Multiple applicants for both positions. So that's interesting, because that was one of my concerns, was whether we identified that we want to hire a mental health professional to work in the jail 40 hours a week, whether or not we could find someone that actually wanted to spend 40 hours a week in the jail. But they have multiple applicants for both positions, so that's encouraging.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? I will agree with you that we need a glossary for those abbreviations. I'm the chair of community mental health, and I still need a glossary because they talk about things and you're like, wait a minute, what was that? So that will be very helpful to have things spelled out.
We needed better explanations.
Yes.
The acronyms and abbreviations didn't work for me.
No. Okay, we are going to move on to current job openings. Briefly, we have continuous openings for correctional officers with the sheriff's office, deputies with the sheriff's office, medical examiner investigator part-time, and seasonal law enforcement deputies for the Marine Division. We also have an opening for an accounting technician in the Health Department. The closing date of that is July 20, well, that's already closed. Hearing and vision technician, and that closes on August 10th. So if there's any good, talented people out there, we urge you to go to grandtraverse.org and apply. Okay, we do have a closed session for Carlson versus Grand Traverse County to consult with attorney regarding settlement strategy and trial strategy.
Correct.
Madam Chairman, I would move that we go into closed session in regard to Grand Traverse County versus Carlson.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion?
And again, that's for the purpose of discussing settlement.
Right.
Or trial strategy.
Yep, Bonnie will put that in there. Okay?
Do we expect to come out
Yes.
with anything?
Do we expect a decision? No.
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 No, it is to get an update and, yes. So, roll call vote, please.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yep.
Mayor?
Yes.
Wheelock? Klaus?
Yes.
Gorfulet?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes. Okay, we will be back.
So you are making a decision coming from town?
For the love of Jesus.
Chris, we won't be making any decision coming out of this, right? Bill wanted to know, but I don't see that happening. Because even if we offer some sort of a settlement, it's still gotta go to them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a hell of a, so. Hi, Ned.
Thank you.
No problem.
Both Dean and I are thrilled to go back, going back. Never any kids.